Bucket a hole's a hole, you
Hey,
know.
love is love. How dare you? Yeah.
The world has wrought this upon themselves.
So I get a DM, and someone says, I'm not much of a religious man, but the more I listen to your podcast, the more I feel that I need to pray for co-host Mike.
Yeah, I would have just told you that in person, but, you know.
And, well, he just said Mike, and I was just like, which Mike? You know, because I think that statement could be true of either of them. And he said, the one that can't make guacamole without fucking old ladies. And I was like, ah.
I'm sorry, but which one is that? I'm still confused.
Yeah, co-host Mike, he said that on an episode. He's like, you know, you can't make guacamole without fucking a few old ladies.
That's fair. I remember that episode, but at the same time, like, that feels like a thing that EP Mike would do on accident.
No, I feel like he would do that just because, like, Big Brother co-host Mike set the example.
That's fair.
And so now he's just like, well, you know, this is doctrine, so we can't go against doctrine.
Hey, you know when a Marine comes up with a good idea?
First of all, how dare you? Because co-host Mike is Navy and EP Mike is Army.
Yeah, but I feel like co-host Mike in the Navy is closer to being a Marine than EP Mike is to being, what's the word, a human being.
Welcome to the Smoke Pit.
What up, Doe?
And so we were actually absent, both the mics. So we talk a lot about shit about them while they're not here. What? No, I'm kidding. But we are going to be talking a lot of shit this episode. Primarily about the asinine things that we have seen in our service. We have AJ here. He's been a reoccurring guest on several episodes. AJ and I, he was the first person I ever met in the fleet. Like, I showed up, had my sea bags on. I'm just, like, ready to get hazed, you know. And then this, like, old-looking man that towers above me in height comes walking up to me. I'm like, ah, fuck, here it comes. He's like, what's up, dude? Like, I just got here, like, 2 or 3 months ago. Like, I know the lay of the land. Like, I know who's who in the zoo. Like, if you need a beer, I got you. And I was like, all right, that's cool.
Age breeds wisdom, sir.
Yeah, why'd you fucking join so late?
I wanted to join because I wanted to. Because I felt it was a calling.
Gay.
Not because, well, you got to remember, this was young, idealistic AJ, not old, grizzled, miserable, grumpy, elitist AJ.
Grumpy
right?
old cactus. You old, wrinkly, bald fuck.
Hey, they're not wrinkled, okay? I keep them very taut.
All right, so if any of our listeners have direct knowledge of whether the volume of wrinkles per square inch of AJ's balls, please send us a message. I'd be happy to know, because I know personally, but, you know, y'all fucks will think that if I just say that, I'd be like, oh, he's just, you know, making fun of him. But I'd like to get cold, hard, like, concrete facts in this, so that way, you know, it's for science.
Not only are there no wrinkles, but that thing's, like,
no wrinkles, come on.
Taut, and shiny like a cue ball.
You're losing credibility now, because there has to be some wrinkles, at least one.
No, you know what the trick is?
What's that?
Right. A, lotion.
Into the mic, young one.
A, lotion.
Yeah.
B, never shave your junk without an erection.
That's I think that's it. I hate shaving my balls because, like, I always get fucking, like, razor burn, and then you're having to, like, justify it. You're like, no, I promise that's not that. It's razor burn. This was for you.
I'll tell you, I've got in trouble for this, but only in the sense that, like, a woman will go into my bathroom, right,
Yeah.
and she'll see, and I have a nice bathroom, right, but
Yeah.
you know, it's all men's products for the most part, and then on one shelf in my
Notice how I
bathroom,
said for the most part.
for the most part, like, ladies have some good products too, you know,
Yeah.
so this, and for the most part, includes
I get it, like, you know, like, you keep a toothbrush, like a spare one, in case, you know, a girl wants to stay the night over,
well,
or
that's
maybe
basic, common, gentlemanly, you know, conduct.
Yeah, for all you fucking animals out there.
Right, all you fucking animals out there. Learn what kind of shampoo women use and just have it, right? Don't use it, just have it, right?
No, but not only that, but, like, girls, they typically will try to look for reasons not to go further than they would like to, because, man, everybody likes to get laid. But, you know, girls, they're like the keepers of the gate, you know? Like, if it was up to us, like, everybody would just be pregnant all the time. You know, like, disease would be rampant. It would be insane.
I'm working on it.
And so they're like, oh, I forgot my toothbrush. I'm like, hey, I got a brand new one. You know, And they're like, oh, well, what about my contacts case? I'm like, well, I got to spare one of those too, you know? And then it's just like, well, what about the eye drop solution? I'm like, I got saline and non-saline. Like, what's your preference here? And they're like, God damn, like you were prepared.
The travel section at Walmart in the hygiene aisle is your best friend, fellas. It's like $10 and you look like an absolute rock star, right?
And then she's just like, you know what? This man would provide for my children. Hog, hog, hog.
Yes. So, but I've got in trouble before because I have 2 razors, right?
Yeah.
I have a man razor for my face,
Yeah.
right? Just for the parts where my beard doesn't grow, right? Because you don't touch the beard.
Yeah, you know, you don't want a neck beard, you know? Like,
Right.
You got to clean it up a little
Exactly.
bit.
You got to keep a little cleanness.
Yeah, for all of those you who are active duty, you know, growing a fucking leave beard for like 10 days is completely different than having like a 30+ day beard.
Yeah, this requires like oil and
Yeah.
maintenance, right? But
And so like I wasn't used to that idea, so like when I first started growing out, I was like, oh, it's kind of patchy, like it doesn't look good. And like AJ was like, no, give it time. And now I have this luxurious beard.
it's quite luxurious.
Yep, and it's even made more luxurious by Combover.
What?
Use our discount code Creampie to save money. They got hair products, beard oil, and it's good stuff. It'll make you smell good.
It will make you smell good.
All right, so who is this governing body that your authority, that you get in trouble with, quote unquote? Because as far as I know, you're a goddamn hard dick dragon slayer that answers to no one.
Look, I'm not
Except
saying
God and the IRS.
I'm not saying that I answer the question. I'm just saying that it's been posed to me. The thing I get fussed at for sometimes is I get the raised eyebrow, the feminine raised eyebrow, right? They go in my shower.
The wrinkle, the furrowed brow.
Yeah, they go in my shower and they see a lady's razor, right?
Yeah.
Because I shave my face in the mirror like a human, and then I shave my bits in the shower also like a human because I've got the hose where I can, make sure it's all spink afterwards. But I use the lady razor because the lady razor has a little strip that keeps from getting razor bumps.
Yeah.
Because they shave their legs. And
Really?
You don't have a bumpy leg, right?
Yeah, because they got a lot more surface to shave than we do.
Right. So, you got all that, like, ridiculous lather and, like, the little soapy strip. And I don't know. It's all kind of weird voodoo science to me. But,
Chicken butt.
But yeah, so they go in there and they see the lady razor and they're like, oh, whose razor is this? And I was like, that is the razor for, Jim Bob and the twins.
Yeah. You're basically like, you know how you like sucking on smooth, shaven balls? You're welcome. This is for you, okay? And frankly, I'm going to be sending you a Venmo request for compensation because these aren't cheap either.
Right. Lady razors are like twice as expensive for the same number of blades, right?
But they got the strip because they got a, I don't know if you've ever been like out like camping or traveling with a woman, and then like you actually see like the extent of the stubble. It's like it's disheartening. It really is.
Yeah, it's like shaving a what do you call it? It's like shaving a Sasquatch and then waiting 3 days. It's like,
have you ever seen a girl that has hair around her nipples?
Yes.
Like, and I guess it's not uncommon, and it's not like super hairy, but I might get like a couple hairs. And so like I've been in a shower with a girl before, and like she's shaving her armpits and like her legs and stuff, and then she's like tip like over the nipples, and I was like, what was that?
This is for you, sir. You are welcome.
Like, how you like sucking on clean, smooth, shaven nipples? You're welcome.
So the first time I'd ever even heard that was an option.
Yeah.
Right. This
back
was
in 16 Tickety.
I was about to say back in 1873.
Oh, okay.
When I had my first apartment.
Yeah. Didn't they call them flats back then?
They called them flats in England. This is America, sir.
I'm sorry. I thought you were a dual citizen.
I am a dual citizen, but
see all the lies coming to truth now that he is a competent person to talk to.
It's not that I was lying. It's that I was adopting the
colloquialism
of the two citizenships that I possess. I was using the expression most common of the one that is in America because America.
Fucking America.
And I was in America at the time, so it makes sense.
Would you finish your story already? Like, our listeners are ready to get on to the next bit.
Anyway, I had this guy. He was a Greek guy named Theo, and he bought my apartment complex. And he always used to wear these like white linen suits, which made the Beretta 9mm he kept tucked in his back pocket or in the back of his pants.
Yeah,
like much more obvious when I followed him up the stairs to his office. First time I met him, he started telling me that his daughter was absolutely gorgeous, but that I should be aware if I decided to pursue it, which I didn't realize had been given to me as an option, that she was...
He brought you into his office, sat you down. He was Greek, so I'm assuming he gave you some like baklava or anal sex. Like both are very common in that tradition.
It was that licorice liquor that like doesn't get you fucked up, but it also doesn't taste good. So you're just like, what am I doing here?
So like most of the liquor you drink.
Hey, the liquor I have right here is delicious. Maybe
So this motherfucker and
orange
I
vanilla
we're in Scotland. No, don't let him deceive you. We're in Scotland, and he was like, "Hey, you gotta try this scotch," and it was like a fucking campfire. I looked over at him. I'm like, it tastes like Vikings just fucking like plundered my mouth with fire, axes, and penises.
And I ordered a bottle because that's the kind of scotch I like.
Yeah, it's like they put marshmallows on their penis and then spit roasted them over a fire and then teabagged the scotch repeatedly so that way it was like quafting.
Yeah, it gave it that smoky but kind of sweet flavor. Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, and so he was just like, "Yes, bartender, I will take all of the smoky scotch you have." And he's like, "Wait, son, what I'm afraid you heard me say was give me a lot of smoky scotch. What I actually said was give me all the smoky scotch you have."
Okay, since you brought up Scotland, I'm going to just get into this one thing and then we can go back to our main point here. Yeah. Right? So we did go to a bar in Scotland at some point. It's like, it's after lunch, but it's before dinner, and we're about 2 blocks from Edinburgh Castle.
We had drinking quite heavily the night before.
We had drinking quite heavily the several nights before and the several days before as well. Like I woke up that morning and ate haggis because I was like, I've heard this is good for hangovers. And
that was the morning after we went on a pub crawl, and like the guy who was giving our tour was from Capri, but so he had like a Mediterranean accent, but also a Scottish accent.
Yeah, his name was Hercules. I remember that. I was like, "Is that your real name or is that your stage name?" And he was like, "This is both names, sir." And I was like, "All right, cool, let's do this, Hercules."
Yeah, and so like we show up, and it's just like, and I might get some of the details a little fuzzy, but it's not important. We walk up, and if anything of consequence, I'll get correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But
I will.
I know you will, fucker.
I will correct you, sir.
And so, like, we get there. It's a gay Mexican guy who was very nice, and then the two of us, and then Hercules shows up, and he's like, "Oh, is this it? Like, this is it for the pub crawl?" And he's like, "Do you guys want to come back some other day? Like, maybe?" And we're like, "No."
It was a Wednesday night, too, so they weren't planning on being busy.
Yeah, and we're like, "Dude, like, we got plans. Like, we bought the tickets. Like, let's go on the pub crawl." And he's like, "All right, fuck it. Fair enough." And so, like, as we're walking up to the very first pub, he's like, "Hey, look, you guys are from out of town. You don't know all the customs and traditions. So basically, just kind of be, like, on your best behavior and just don't do anything that's, like," and right as he said that, like, the quintessential, like, tall, bald, tattooed, red beard, Scottish, like, bouncer-looking motherfucker.
The last thing he had said before that motherfucker appeared was, "And whatever you do, don't challenge the bouncer's authority."
Yeah, and like right as he's saying that, like this fucking dude comes out and he's got this like smaller, older gentleman like by the fucking back of the neck, and he like
off the ground.
Yeah, and he's fucking like carrying like a fucking suitcase, brings him out, fucking like throws him on the ground, and then he's just like yelling at him like, "Oh, like why would you do that? Fucking haggis and kilts and whatever fucking nonsense." And so he's just like, "Why would you do that?" And he stops, and then he just like
William Wallace,
and then just like double hand strangle this motherfucker. Like it already asserted dominance, already kicked him out. The other dude was hammered, and he's like fucking like Edgar Allan Poe fucking laid out in the gutter, and he just like stops and he just goes back and chokes him again.
He's like bungaing his head off the pavement after like the third bunga. The guy's like, "All right, I get it." And he's like, "I'm gonna keep hitting you till you speak proper English again."
Yeah, and he's choking the fuck out of him, and then Hercules is like, basically, "Don't be that guy," and we're like, "Roger that." And so we walk into the fucking bar. He's like, and he's like kind of like back into like bartender mode. He's cooled off a bit, and he's got like a fucking spit rag, and he's like shining a cup, and he's like, "What do you lads have?" I'm like, "Whatever you want me to have, sir."
I'll take whatever you choose to serve me and give you 6 guineas for the process, sir.
Yeah. And
I don't know if they still use guineas or not, but you know,
it's I think it's euros, but doesn't matter. We're at this Scottish pub the next day, and we're a bit hungover. It's a bit later in the day. I think it's around like kind of late lunchtime.
It's after lunch but before dinner, so probably about 1500 ish. 3 o'clock for those of you in
I feel like we woke up a little earlier than that, but that
I don't know. We woke up at like 9.
Yeah.
And we went out and had the traditional Scottish breakfast.
Yeah, the haggis.
Right, we had the haggis, which is great for hangovers, but do not look at it. Like keep your eyes closed and just shovel it into your gullet as fast as you can so you don't Ralph.
Yeah, so what I remember about this story being is that like it was one of the days we were there, and we get there and he's like, "You know, what do you lads have to drink?" And I'm like, "Man, like I'm fucking hungover, I'm dehydrated. Like I'll have like water and like an iced tea." and he's just like, he kind of like looks at me funny.
Wait a moment. I'm gonna have to tell you just slight correction on timeline. He came to me first and he said, "What do you lads have?" And I said, "I'll have a Scotch double neat." And he was like, "Absolutely, you Roger that. I got you." Right. And so he grabs
a fine Scottish beverage.
Right. So he's like, "It's 3:00 in the afternoon on Wednesday. It makes perfect sense that this is what you want." Puts it right in front of me, not a problem. And then he looks at young Daniel here and he says, "What do you have?" And he goes, "Can I get a water and an iced tea?" And the guy looked at him like he had just spoken in Chinese. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm old and I maybe didn't hear you right. Can you say that again?" And he's like, "A water and an iced tea, please, sir." And he goes, "I'll see what I can do." Like giving him the side eye. So he gives me my Scotch and then he fucks off into the back for like a good 5 minutes. And when he does come back, he has this bottle of Lipton in his hands, right? It's like a Lipton iced tea.
It's like one of like the little travel size bottles that you would put in like a company picnic. Like
yes, but it's like you could tell it's like the label from 10, 15 years ago, back in like the early 2000s sensibility. Yeah. And he holds the bottle up like this and goes, and it's like fine mist of dust comes off the thing and he like kind of rubs the top and he's like, "Here's your tea, sonny," and fucks off like, "You disgust me, sir. I will serve you because I am in the hospitality business, but you disgust me."
And so we're sitting there, and
I remember what comes next.
Yeah, and so the next thing I know, and this is kind of fucking unbelievable, like AJ just fucking slumps over, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is his first drink, and like he's got a liver of iron, you know, it's been rigorously trained over the last week, especially. Abused. And I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Come on, lad, like this is your time, escape." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "The only reason you come into a pub in Scotland and order water is if you were in distress. Like, I roofied his drink. Like, let's get you the fuck out of here." And I'm like, "Nah, dude. I'm just having a hard time." And he's just like, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, I was starting to think maybe I like guys. And my buddy was like, "Let's go to Scotland because that's where the most beautiful women in the world are." And he's like, "Right they are." And I'm like, "Well, do you know anybody who like might be able to help me with this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got you. Like my two sisters, like they're fucking gorgeous lasses." And now from AJ's perspective, he wakes up. And I had these two bosomy fucking redheads sitting in my lap, and they're just like all over me, and we're drinking, carry on, having a good time. And so the bartender looks over at AJ and is like, "Who's the Nancy boy now?" And we all fucking have a good laugh and eat haggis.
I'd like to say for those of you listeners who listen to the show on a regular basis that you don't need this particular what do you call it? Like little insert.
See, he's tap dancing. This is what he does.
But for the rest of you who are new to the podcast, that was all complete fabrication. You are a bullshit artist of the finest order, sir. I salute you. But you're full of shit.
You know, I was just trying to cover for the fact that you're a lightweight and you passed out, and I have epic game. And so when you woke up, I had girls and you were passed out.
Boy.
And everybody was laughing at you.
Boy.
Like, they took a Polaroid of you that's still in the bathroom.
The only time
yeah, here it comes,
you and I have ever drank together,
and
I have not been 100% by the end of the night.
Oh my god.
I
have seen this motherfucker in the most dire states of inebriation and undress in public locations.
It was once, and it was ironically, it's at a bar called the Virginian, which is in 29 Palms, California. And it was my getting out of the Marine Corps party, right? I was getting my EAS party, and I don't remember anything that happened except that I went. I was the life of the party. I'm apparently much more agile when drunk than I am sober because I am very clumsy when I'm sober, and that I potentially may have not made it into the cab without horking up dinner, right? But that's possibly the worst I've ever been.
These are the cries of a desperate man trying to save face.
Desperate nothing. Save face? The last podcast I was on, we talked for 45 minutes about my terrible life choices. And face is not to be saved.
I'm glad that you acknowledge the fact that you have a problem and you need help.
I don't need help, right? I fixed the problem. The problem is,
your solution is more girls and more alcohol. You have a problem.
Low standards come from low personal opinion of yourself. And I think anybody that knows me knows that I have enough ego to fix that problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is we said on the first podcast? If she ain't an 8, she don't rate, right? So it's like,
yes, Alexander.
Swipe left for 7s is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
So we gathered our belongings and we pushed on.
As we always do.
As we always do.
Anyway, let's talk about some fuckery, some fuckery in the military, so that we can get back on track.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's just kind of funny when you're in the military. You see these different levels of hypocrisy that you don't have like the rank or the authority to call out, because usually it's somebody who's above you, because like as a good leader you try to squash it, you know, at your level.
It's always somebody above you.
Yeah, it's just like they're fucking like, hey, like we're on the range, you know, and most ranges are like gravel rocks or like some sort of shitty terrain where it's okay if you put like poison into the earth, you know, brass and lead.
Anywhere where the Marine Corps has a base is terrible enough to where they don't care if you literally salt the earth after you're done working on it.
Yeah. Our temporary executive producer, would you mind fingering the mouse pad on the recording device just so the screen? Yeah, EP Mike really fucked us on this. Please send him dick pics. But yeah, so you're on the range, and they're like hurry up, fucking da 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 da. And so you're like, all right, cool. So you start like your little range trot, your little fucking combat shuffle. And they're like, no running on the range. And you're like, so you start walking. And they're like, well, hurry up. I'm like, all right, what the fuck do you want out of me? You know, like I'm not a fucking professional power walker here. So you start doing like the little fucking power walk, you know, like you shit your pants.
Yeah, you're doing the range shuffle, but like it just looks like you're uncomfortable. Like maybe you have nut cancer.
There's no shuffle. It's just like you're trying to like pinch a turd because you have like 100 pounds of gear on. The footing is usually uneven. Like combat boots aren't exactly stable. They don't give you a lot of fucking arch support, you know?
Yeah, it's like trying to walk coals while you're pinching a cherry in your butt cheeks.
Did you just fucking burp? Oh my God.
I did not, but I'm glad you enjoyed it anyway.
Oh my God. This smells like fucking vagina and Taco Bell.
Accurate. I had both of those things.
Oh, did you, sir?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Allegedly. Yeah. But so you're like trying to fucking run. They're like, don't fucking run, but hurry up. And like, well, what the fuck do you want from me, man? And it's like the same thing when you're like in formation and like everybody's in uniform and they're like, oh, we're, you know, fucking Smith. Like, tell them to fucking hurry up. And so, you know, I send them a text message like, hey, gay boy, like fucking waiting on one. And then, like, you know, 5 seconds later, because any sort of inconvenience is an eternity in fucking higher-ups' mind, you know, like, you have to stomp out this fire right now or the world doesn't exist, you know? And they're like, oh, well, fucking call Smith and tell him to hurry up. And I'm like, Staff Sergeant, you do realize that that's counterproductive to your overall intent, right? And he's like, the fuck are you talking about, Marine? I'm like, well, if I call him, seeing as he's in uniform, he has to stop to answer his phone, halting his forward progress.
Stop using big words and contradicting my thought process.
And so thus, he's actually going to get here slower than if you just, you know, let him carry out on his own. And he's like, I fucking said call him. I'm like, okay, roger that. And I'm a belligerent fuck. I've gotten like, I think my last count was like 17 page 11s and an NJP. Like, bit of a belligerent fuck.
2 NJPs.
You had 2 NJPs?
No, you.
No, I've only had one.
Just, okay.
Yeah, just the one.
Not trying to air your dirty laundry.
No, the one was
Except for your dirty laundry.
No, the one was for fucking off on post when I was a boot, which was entirely Coachy's fault. And 2,
agreed.
I almost got battalion level NJP because somebody had stolen all my gear because they put me on duty the fucking day we got back from our 30-day long evolution. And I didn't live in the barracks, so my gear was in my car. Somebody broke into my car, stole all my shit. And Sergeant Major was like, oh, we're going to battalion level NJP, which is kind of like an Article 15 for the Army. They're like, we're going to battalion level you, fucking charge you, and you're going to have to pay for all the gear. And I was like, no, I deny that. I refuse NJP because that's your right. And I request court-martial. So like in the Navy, it's like captain's mass. But I was like, I refuse that, and I request trial by court-martial. And he was like, what? I was like, there's no fucking way anybody's going to convict me of that. Like, you guys didn't give me the opportunity to stow my gear in accordance with Marine Corps Doctrine Publication, blah, 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 blah. And that's why it was stolen. Like, I'm the fucking victim here. Someone broke into my fucking car and stole my shit, and you want me to pay for it with my career and my wallet? I was like, no, court-martial.
I'd like to take this opportunity to point out how many times that not you per se, because this guy carries a copy of MCDP-1 on him at all times. This is the Marine Corps War Fighting Manual.
Right up here in the noodle.
I used to make jokes about that, and then like one time I made a joke about that in front of this girl he was dating's parents, and he said, I don't understand why that's funny, pulled it out of his back pocket of his civilian clothes and slapped it on the table. I made that joke 2 years later, and he said, psh, have a copy in my pocket. What is this, 2006? PDF, baby, and pulls it out of his pocket. And I was like, I don't know that that's not better.
For the 99% of you who listen to us, he just held up his phone.
I did. I held up my phone. Sorry. He had a PDF on his phone, which is where I was going with that.
Yeah, and so like I was like, court-martial me, and Sergeant Major was like, well, you realize if we court-martial you, it's going to be a lengthy process, and your squad's going to deploy without their squad leader, and I know who your fucking team leaders are. They're going to get everybody fucking killed. And I was like, you goddamn son of a bitch.
I'd be like, that sounds a lot like a you problem and not a me problem, sir.
And so they fucking guilt-tripped me into that, and I was like, so where do we go from here? And he's like, all right, Devil Dog, I got you. Like, he's doing me a favor, right?
Right. He's only fucking you mildly instead of fucking you full-throated.
And he's like, we're going to give you a page 11, and you're not going to have to pay for the gear. And I was like, am I going to get an adverse fit rep? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, no, court-martial. He's like, all right, fine. No adverse fit rep, which by doctrine you're supposed to get if you get a page 11. But they knew they were so full of shit that fucking they weren't going to put it on, like, they were going to put it in my record, but they weren't going to put it on my fit rep, which I could fucking appeal and be like, I got this adverse fit rep for this, thing that they did to me. So I didn't have to pay for it. I didn't get an adverse fit rep. They gave me a fucking pee-pee smack, and I was back out in the field the next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need to know the rules, right? Learn Marine Corps Order Papa 1020.34 Hotel or whatever your AR 671 TAC 1, right? Whatever your regulations are, learn it. Right? You're not a nerd. You're stopping yourself from getting screwed in the future.
Yeah, because like being in Quantico, like I found out that if I could support whatever I was doing with some sort of random fucking quote from a doctrine, like I'd get away with it most of the time.
That was it. And it was like somebody would be like, hey, your camis are too big. And I'd be like, well, according to blah, 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 it says fucking such and such. And then I wave my arms around like an asshole and they'd be like, well, you got me on that, but at the same time, I'm still angry. And I'm like, well, I can't help
how dare you fucking make me feel bad about the thing that I didn't know?
Right.
And not only that, but like, say, like tactics-wise, they're like, well, why'd you do this? And I'm like, well, according to this, warfighting pub, it says this. And they're like, duty, bitch.
Was it Harper one time? Yeah. Harper was our company commander was giving us a hard time because he was like, that's not how camouflage is supposed to work. And then Harper said, well, according to the pub, FMF, whatever the hell it was, he's like, it says this, this, and this. And the captain's like, no, that's completely false. And then so Harper comes in later with the book in his hand with like the shit highlighted in it, right? And it's like a FAM. So all of the pictures are from 1963.
Yeah.
And so he goes into the captain's office and then he knocks on the door. Captain says, come in, Sergeant Harper. And he drops the book in front of the captain, right? And he says, sir, I just felt like this would be good for all of us to be on the same page, right? Passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Puts the book down and the captain's like, looks at the book, reads the highlights, doesn't look up, get the fuck out. like I'm not wrong. What do you want from me?
It's like the same when you carry like the order around in your pocket, and they're like, oh, fucking Sharp, get a haircut. I'm like, well, actually, and I pull out my fucking pocket, and then like whoever the gunny or the first sergeant like looks at it and they fucking scowl at me and they're like, good, you got fucking duty on Christmas. I'm like, well, fucking at least I don't have to cut my hair,
I will say I pulled that once. I had a first sergeant at 29 Palms, and to be fair to him, he was to be fair. So to be fair to him, he was really a very honorable man, right?
Yeah.
Like he honored the idea of your word is your bond,
yeah,
right? And I won't get into that story because we don't have time. But I will say that one time we got done with
you just blue-balled all our fucking listeners.
That story can come later, or if we have time later on.
Do ladies get blue balls?
I would imagine so. I don't imagine they get blue balls, but maybe blue ovaries?
Yeah, like
blue fallopians. Fallopian's a fun word. Fun fact, by the way, all of the parts of a lady's anatomy are all named after affluent white men.
Oh, no shit.
I forget the word for it, but the G in the word G spot is named after a white doctor that found it.
But see, like the thing with that though is the fact that both of us being moderately handsome young men who have been with a respectable amount of women, not too much, not too little, just like right in the chute,
Right.
Neither one of us know if that's a thing because we never stop to ask. Heyo.
So this first sergeant was pretty honorable about like he believed your word is your bond, right?
Yeah.
So he saved me on a couple of occasions. So I had respect for him at this point. I'd only known him for about 2 months, but he was one of the two best first sergeants I'd had. And at some point we got done with the company ruck march. He's standing right behind me. I'm tall and
the more whiskey he gets in it, the long winder he gets.
The long winder?
Yeah.
Winded.
So you have to make up words to describe like you're turning red right now. Like you're flush in the face.
I just want to point out that old boy had to find the words to describe this girl that wouldn't be disrespectful, and sexy bitch is what he came up with. Like, what was the thing he thought about before he considered whether it would be disrespectful or not? Be that as it may. So this first sergeant, we get done with the ruck march. He's standing right behind me in formation, and he just leans in like real uncomfortably close to my ear, and he goes, "Sergeant Pfeffer, what the fuck is on your head?" And I'd already taken my helmet off, so I'm like, "Hair, First Sergeant?" He goes, "Yeah, hair. Too fucking much of it." And I was like, "Well, First Sergeant, according to the regs," he's like, "I'm sorry, did you just try to quote regulations to me? I don't give a fuck if it's in regs. Get that mop cut off." And I was like, First Sergeant. And then I got out 2 weeks later with long ass hair. Woo woo.
Oh yeah, and that was fucking epic. Because
Tuck and roll, baby.
he was getting out, and he had to come to Virginia to interview for a job, and like we were fucking both in the throes of fucking divorce and alimony and fucking all this shit. So we're both broke, E5s, and so he's like, "Man, like I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna get to Virginia. Like my fucking like I don't know if I can afford a plane ticket or like the fucking trip or whatever." I was like, "Hey, dude, like find some fucking potato and crash with her for like 2 weeks until I get out." And then you can drive with me because I'm PCSing in Virginia. And he's like, "All right, roger that." So he like walked in the fucking local bar and he was like, "Thou potato, allow me to plant thyself into thou fields
What's
of most bountiful harvest."
None of that made any sense.
Yeah, most of what you say doesn't make sense, especially to girls, like the flowery language.
Hey, they find me charming, sir.
And so he shacked up with some potato for like 2 weeks and gave her a respectable amount of the business. Not all of the business, but most of it.
I fear what you heard me say was some of the business. What I actually said was, "I will give you all of the business."
And then so 2 weeks later, I got out. All right, I got out of that unit, which was awesome. Like, take all your leave if you can, because the day I was PCSing, one of the fucking officers lost his like Singar, or like I think it might have been his dagger, and the entire battalion fucking went on lockdown for the weekend. And I was like, thank fucking God I took all the leave, because if I had taken 1 day less, like I would have been out there police calling the big range. You know?
He wasn't even doing anything. He drove out to the range on his own.
Oh my God.
And just sat there and pointed and laughed. And they were like, "We'll take you off a leave." You're like, "Leave's a right, not a privilege." Ha 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 ha.
Fuckers. Yeah, and so I fucking swoop AJ, and she comes rolling behind him like the fucking ball from Indiana Jones. And I'm like, get in. And he like jumps in like through the window with his legs kicking out, and we skirt off.
Yeet and retreat.
And then so we're driving, and like my fucking power steering's not working that great. And then like the car starts shaking real bad, and we hit all the traffic and on our way to Vegas. And like I thought the bitch was gonna die. So I take it into the fucking mechanic. I'm like, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "Your rack and pinion's fucked.
Everything.
Your power steering pump is fucked. Out of the 4 bolts you're supposed to have holding your engine in, 2 are missing, and one's about to fall out." And I was like, so we almost died.
Well, that's par for the course in our friendship.
And so we fucking, I was like, all right, well, now I got to take most of my PCS money and fix the car. But hey, it gives us a reason to fucking party in Vegas for a few days.
We did party in Vegas for a few days.
Yeah. And
I still have pictures of that, by the way.
Yeah, it was nice. And we, the funny thing was we stayed at the Hooters hotel. It was actually a lot nicer than the fucking, the Hilton was.
We stayed in 2 different hotels.
Yeah.
We stayed in the Hooters hotel, and we stayed in this other hotel that I don't remember the name of it, but I remember they had like the Star Trek, like the DS9 themed bar that was closed down.
Yeah.
And we were like, if they still have a DS9 themed bar from 10 years ago, but it's shut down, but you can still go in there and take pictures, like this isn't the quality establishment we need to be at. So we moved to Hooters. Imagine how bad it was that we moved to Hooters.
And so I'm like, all right, dude, like we're a little fucking low on funds. I get paid in a few days or whatever. So like we went down to the casino, and like old boy here is just fucking struggling. Like I think he lost like $7. He's like, "Oh God damn it." And
I'm a terrible gambler. But if I pay him, I give him money and he puts it in a machine and like spits out $300, and I'm like, "You can go fuck yourself right to hell."
And like the thing is he like hands me like fucking ye old silver dollar or whatever, and he's
one
like,
straw penny.
And he's like, "What machine are you gonna use?" And I was like, "That one looks the most patriotic." And I like walked like halfway across the floor, plunk, pull the lever, and it was
3 eagles.
3 eagles came up.
3 bald eagles with like flags wrapped around them, and he got like $200 and something, which covered the entire hotel stay plus dinner plus the ridiculous activities we did after dinner.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember those sleuths we banged in Circus?
Was it Circus?
Yeah, because like we were going there for the Marine Corps ball, and you got like the most fucking bottom of the tier $7 a night Roach Motel that we could find.
Hey, Circus is the best hotel that a Marine on active duty can afford. With the exception of, I remember we did.
God, it was so embarrassing because the girls were doctors too. Like they were in town on a convention.
They were both doctors, and let me tell you, listeners, for those of you who can't see the look of incredulity on my face right now, that Mr. Daniel Arthur Sharp here got angry with me for years for hooking him up with a blonde, blue-eyed doctor of sports physiology. Like she was like her whole thing in life was being an expert on being physically fit and in perfect physical condition. And she was
an absolute fucking psycho.
Psycho. Well, she was wrong.
Look, man, hot chicks are a dime a dozen to bang, but finding one that's not going to fucking, like...
She wasn't going to cut you in the parking lot. She was white, not, this.
No, like, I was afraid she was going to take my kidneys.
I feel like...
She had the knowledge to do so, Alexander.
Look, here's what happened, right? He said, I like guns. And she said, I'm a member of PETA. And he said, maybe less with the talking. And then they pounded it out for like 3 hours straight. And then he complained about it.
Okay, so what really happened was...
For years. Years he complained about road,
that. And I think I mentioned this story before. Alex was just like, hey, hot chicks, you want to go fucking party? And they were like, fuck yeah. And then so we get to the bar... And, like, him and her are fucking hitting it off, and they're talking about, like, fucking the moon and stars and philosophy and what comes next. Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Or do you have any moral obligation? Who decides what's right and wrong?
Epistemic responsibility. Google it.
Yeah, and so, like, they're hitting it off, and, like, I'm like, so, you like things? And she's like, absolutely fucking not. I'm a terrible human being. And I'm like, okay, well... And then so like the girl was just like, hey, like I don't think my friend's having a lot of fun, like maybe we should go. And Alex gives me the eyes, like the eyes that you give your boy when they're like dropping the ball, and he's like, motherfucker, like fucking do something, I'm trying to get my fucking dick wet. And I was like, all right, fine. And so I was like, so like what do you like to do on the weekend, besides suck the souls of men and just be generally terrible? And she's like, oh, well, I do this and I do that and I do that. And she's like, well, what do you like to do? I was like, I like being outdoors, I like to travel, I like to hunt. And she's like, you hunt? And like that was kind of like the fucking beginning of the end. And like they look over and we have like daggers in our eyes at each other.
Well, she's a member of PETA, so you like to kill animals and she likes to kill animals.
Yeah, just in different ways.
Yeah.
How dare you kill the animals that I wanted to kill?
Right? Like you kill them one at a time for food. She kills them mass droves at a time for money and profit.
Yeah, and so basically the way that I swung that one, I was just like, hey, look, I was thinking about a lot about what you said, and because she was a girl, she was like, oh, really?
You were thinking about a thing that I said? Yes, because you said it, and as a rational human being, I consider all the options and all the facets of the thing you said instead of just jumping to a conclusion.
Yeah, that's the thing that pisses me off when a girl's like, here's this extremely complex fucking question that's 5 paragraphs long, and you're like, like you hesitate. I'm like, yeah, because I have to decide how the fuck I feel. I just don't like, I don't fucking, hip shoot it,
You can't go by feelings. That would get you killed in war.
And so I'm just like, hey, look, I was thinking about what you said, and I'll make you a deal. If you give me a kiss on the cheek, I won't ever kill an animal ever again. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah, like Scout's honors. I was never a Boy Scout. And so she does. She gives me a kiss on the cheek. And then like 5 seconds later, I was like, well, it just doesn't seem fair. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I owe you a kiss because you gave me one. And she's like, okay, like that seems fair. And then, like, AJ was, like, talking to this girl. And they're like, yeah, I'm really thinking about, like, diversifying my 401k. And just, like, the boring shit he talks about.
Lies. I don't know anything about handling money.
And then he looks over, and we're, like, making out, like, super hardcore. And, yeah. And so, like, I had to jump on this fucking grenade. Like, physically attractive, but, like, emotionally fucking just terrifying.
Like most of the women you date.
Yeah, because, like, anytime you put your penis in a woman, you risk several things, one of which being children. Imagine if I had to fucking have this woman in my life for 18 years because of a child that I put inside of her trying to get you laid.
Aren't you the one that always tells Sensi that he needs to use condoms?
I did use a condom.
So why are you worried about kids?
Because it says 99.9% effective.
That's true. You are part of the 1% right here. Legend.
Yeah, it was a half heart.
Suboptimal.
Like, I'm not even moving. Go ahead. There you go.
That's the problem. You're not moving.
Is that how
You
you
gotta
like-
meet me halfway.
Is that you like try to like jam your penis in vagina? You're
I don't.
like,
I don't jam it in there.
Miss.
I don't jam it. I slide it in there. Right.
You're like a camp counselor trying to knock a life vest off the top rack with the canoe oar.
Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast, sir. Right. You get in there slow and smooth.
This is the same motherfucker that talked about a running start on the last episode he was on.
Let me tell you something, right? So I have a friend of mine, and his name is Todd.
Yeah.
And Todd,
We're way over time, so we're not paying you anymore. So if you want to keep talking, that's on you.
I'm about that. So Todd is the kind of really sweet guy where he reminds you a lot of Fred Rogers, right? Like he's the kind of guy who puts on a nice vest after he takes his suit off to give you the impression that he's there for you. And so when he says anything that relates to the kind of things that most grunts would talk about, it's weird. Right, so we'll have a conversation. We're like, yeah, babies, and throw them in the fire. And he's like, hey guys,
Here at the Smoke Pit, we do not condone throwing babies into fire.
We don't. I'm just saying that I've heard that before.
Unless they're unborn and you paid a clinic to do so.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not touching that with
No, again,
anything.
just kidding. The shock and awe factor.
Be that as it may. So Todd and I are in like Baghdad Embassy or something, right? The Baghdad Embassy complex. And we're walking down this path that goes to the cafeteria, the DFAC. And he looks over at me and he goes, hey, AJ, you know what the best come on line to a woman is? And I was like, here we go. What you got for me, Todd? And he goes, hey, do you like breakfast? And I was like, oh my God, like this is already be terrible. And he goes, I was like, all right, do you like breakfast? And he goes, because baby, I'm going to scramble them eggs. And I was like, oh my God, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
But not untrue.
Not untrue, though.
Not untrue.
Yeah, so we have neglected to mention Strikeforce Energy.
You know what? That's true. We talked about Strikeforce right before. I asked him if he'd ever drank straight from the packet.
Which you can do so.
Which you can do so. He described the flavor as intense.
Yeah, it's concentrated because you're supposed to put it in your beer or your water.
Right. I feel like if I just shoot it straight into my neck, right, via my mouth hole, that gives me that both the weird flavor in the back of my head that makes my rage go into full force. So
sometimes you just got to take a shot in the mouth. Yeah, just right in there.
What you and Cincy do in your free time is none of my business, sir.
Oh, then why are you holding the camera?
Well,
we still haven't got a cut of the royalties about that. And I see the new car you're driving, by the way.
Look, don't hate me because I know how the business works. Okay?
Did you just Don King us?
You're free to make the money that you deserve based on the market. Free market capitalism means that you get paid what the market can bear for you.
What was that one story you wanted to tell about your fucking boy?
So this is both a story that is funny and a TSA, right? Or a PSA, sorry, PSA.
Yeah, TSA are just the guys that tickle your butthole for no reason.
Well, they like to tell me that I look like Chris Kyle, but like the chubby version that what's the name, Bradley Cooper did on the movie. But only when I wear my hat with a flag on it.
It's only when you're trying to look like Chris Kyle, you look like Chris Kyle.
No, it's because of the red beard.
You shave your beard the
I
same way.
look like a semi-redhead.
You have like an eagle face, like the same way that you put on purpose for that. Which is very intense.
When I go through security at the airport, I try to not look like anybody so they won't talk to me. I want to make it.
He wears a flannel. He wears a fucking one of those Demon Hunter patches.
I wear this. This is literally what I wear. Like this, see this little thing? I wear cool for everything I do overseas. I'm not giving them a shout out because they'll probably take away my discount. But
that's kind of a dick move, you know? Hey, thanks for the shout out. Your discount's revoked.
In fairness, they accidentally gave me the government purchase.
Oh my God, that fucking burp sounds like pastrami. What the fuck?
If I was burping, the camera would pick it up. So they accidentally gave me the government purchase price instead of the government employee discount.
Okay.
And which was 50% as opposed to 25%.
I gotcha.
And they let me order like a ridiculous amount of stuff. And then they caught it and they were like, yeah, we caught it in time, but we're not going to screw you because you bought a lot of stuff. So you can have it. And I was like, thanks. Didn't order anything for 4 more years.
And then you spent the money you saved on whores.
Well, you say you save money on whores, but do you really?
Do you really, though?
Anyway.
So, yeah, boy.
So, gentlemen, use your TA money. Your tuition assistance is free money they give you while you're in to go to classes that does not count against your GI Bill or whatever military money you're getting to pay for college after the fact. When I was at 29 Palms, about to get out, I tapped my TA in order to take a EMT course,
You
right?
tapped that TA, all right.
Oh, I tapped that TA. I was like, let me get that EMT course, baby. Whoop. So I went to this EMT course, and I was going through it. Part of it was 70 hours of internship, some of it at the ER, some of it with the fire department, and some of it with the local paramedic service that would go out with the ambulance, right? We called it a rig. So at some point, I'm at a bar in 29 Palms. I'm just enjoying myself, hanging out with some of my buddies. I'm not in class. It's like 2300 at night. And I see I'm standing out on the front porch, and a bunch of these ambulances and cop cars come up. And I know everybody working the rigs that night. So I was like, let me go see what's going on, because I guarantee it's one of my idiots. Like, no reason I should have thought that thought, except I understand my idiots fairly well. So I go around the corner, and sure as shit, it's one of the RBE guys that remained behind Element that did not go to one of the training events the rest of the company went to. So he had gotten in a bar fight in which he was defending a woman who did not request his assistance against a fight in which she was not involved in. And for his trouble, he got...
Wait. So like, girl was standing there, a fight broke out next to her, and he was like, hey, leave that woman alone.
No, there was no fight. Right, the boyfriend said something to her that was cheeky, right? And to him, to the drunk Marine that I had to deal with, it sounded like an insult against her personal honor.
Oh, so he was white knighting it.
Right, he was trying to white knight his way in there and maybe gain some favor.
Yeah.
Two things against that, though, is that he looks like trailer trash, and this was an inside joke between the two of them and not a big deal. So he continued to make it a big deal until someone said, a Judy chop with a glass bottle over his face.
As people are wont to do.
As people are wont to do when you're being an asshole. So I come around the corner, and there's all the EMTs I've worked with and the paramedics I've worked with, all very professional guys and girls. And there's this Lance Corporal, whose name I won't say because probably I don't remember because he wasn't that important or special. And he's got a laceration in his head, and it's a big gash. He's bleeding into his face.
Big fuck off cut on his forehead.
They're trying to help him, right? But he's got his shirt off, so he's naked from the waist up, like a dick, right?
He's got the come at me, bro, in full swing.
Right. He could have had like a backwards monster hat on, and his name could have been Kyle. Like that's where we were at this point.
Yeah.
So he's standing there being a drunk asshole and fighting the cops and fighting the paramedics. And I walk over there, and I again, forget the names. It's been 15, 16 years or, 100 bajillion years because I'm ancient.
It was actually only like 4. You need to start taking some fish oil, man.
This was 2012-ish? It was early 2012 that this happened.
Okay.
So this was 7 years ago, give or take. And so I walked over there, and I was like, hey, hey, Tom, Janet, what's going on with what's going on here? What's the haps, Cap? And they were like, oh, well, this individual did such and such. They explained to me the story. And I was like, he doesn't belong to me, but he's in my company. So let me go over there and figure out what the problem is, because I outrank him by, maturity at least. So I walked over there and I said, hey, Dingus. I said his actual name, but I don't remember it. So I'm going to say Dingus. So I said, hey, Dingus, what in the absolute fuck are you doing right now?
Hey, EP Mike.
Hey, EP Mike, what are you doing right now? You're ruining my evening and my buzz because I saw ambulances come up, and I immediately knew psychically that it was some idiot that I was associated with.
And by virtue of you being in proximity, you were going to get blamed for.
Exactly, and that's kind of where the direction this is headed.
Yeah.
So I go over there, and I said, hey, Dingus, what the fuck happened? So he explains the story to me, and I say, well, you're an idiot. And maybe if you mind your own fucking business, then you wouldn't have these problems. But be that as it may, let me see what I can do to help you. So I talked to the police, and I talked to the paramedics and the EMTs, and I'm
giving hand jobs left and right.
I'm polite and professional, so they listen to what I have to say because I'm drunk, but I'm not so drunk that I can't calmly and rationally say, listen.
Yeah, say a little jerk, a little tug,
little nip slips here and there, because the ladies too.
Yeah.
Hashtag, feminism.
Yeah.
Right? But
we here at the Smoke Pits support equal opportunity nipple grabbing.
Equal opportunity, everything across the board.
Yeah,
right?
I like having my ass smacked.
Good for the goose, good for the gander. I'm about.
No, it's like nice. Like you're out at like a restaurant waiting in line or a movie or something like that, and your girl just gets like a big handful. Like I like that shit.
Yeah, a handful. Like, don't be too aggressive because,
Fuck me up with that shit, fam. I'm all about it. Be
No,
clingy as fuck.
I mean, she could beat cheeks. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, be careful with the finger slips. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if I can play bongos with my fucking ass cheeks, man.
If I'm wearing a romper or something and she just gets underneath that, no shit. Instagram tried to sell me rompers the other day for men, and I was like, this is an abomination, and every day we get further from the Lord.
But see, in fairness, though, rompers were the style of beachwear that you wore in your youth. You heard him, folks. He's speechless.
Yes, but in 1920, right, there was a certain sensibility that doesn't exist anymore, right? Get with the times is my point. Instagram is not a new platform. It's a platform about new and evolving technology, not about living in the past.
Yeah, speaking of which, make sure to follow us, SmokePit on Instagram and the SmokePit on Facebook.
If you're not following us,
correct yourself.
There we go. Added it in. So anyway, be that as it may, I go over there and I smoosh things over with the cops and I schmooze things over with the paramedics. And
making
the
out with both the cops, both guys and girls.
Hey, you know what? Randy and Janice were both very sweet.
Yeah, Dolores, the bartender, she got a little finger action.
And we all met up afterwards. But be that as it may.
Oh, the Waffle House, right?
Well, they didn't have the Waffle House. They had the
Denny's.
Yeah, we did have a
Yeah,
Denny's.
that was right next door to the Virginian.
Which is even better because, you have the option to go in there and point at the menu so you don't have to speak English to get the food you want.
Whoa. Let's bring it down.
No, that wasn't to say anything about Denny's employees. That was to say everything about the inebriation of Denny's patrons, right?
And the workers. Like, I
was unable to speak English, and therefore I could be like, fucking thing right here. And they'd be like, hey, roger that. We'll give you that Denny's Grand Slam.
What I like about Denny's, though, is I fully expect the staff to be as fucked up as I am. And so, like, if I'm, like, drunk gibberish, I can be like, I got you, fam. Like, I know, I may not understand the words you're saying, but I understand the spirit and the energy, and I know what you're in the mood for.
I gotta give Denny's employees, they're pretty good about that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'd be like, and they go, sampler platter with extra ranch. I'm like, and they bring it over to me like,
oh, and a side of English muffins.
like I'm a retarded penguin, just be like, And they'd be like, herring, yes sir, right on that.
Yeah.
Be that as it may. So
there's like this folksy old black guy, and he's just like, I know what you want, son.
I'm gonna tell you there's a story.
Like my Vagger bands.
There's a story behind the folksy old black guy and the 80s gay as magic thing, but we'll get into that at a later point. I will say, however, that
we got to wrap it up, AJ.
Hey, I'm working on it. All right, let me get there. So I go over there. I schmooze the cops. I schmooze the EMTs. And the
man
paramedics.
hasn't used a condom since the Byzantine Empire.
They didn't have condoms back then,
They
right?
did it out of sheepskin.
Two things Papa Bear don't fuck with: snakes and condoms. Be that as it may. So I schmooze things over, and they say, listen, we can't just let you have him, but we can transport him to a different location if that's what you want. And I said, yes, bring him to the base hospital instead of Desert High Springs, or Desert Hot Springs, rather, which
like
is
45 minutes in the other direction.
Right, in the opposite direction, and a civilian hospital. So I said, yeah, bring him to the base. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
So I call my staff sergeant, and I say, Staff Sergeant, such and such got in trouble. He got in a bar fight. His face got lacerated. He's bleeding everywhere. But I happened to be in the same location. I saw the EMTs pull up, and I know them because of this EMT course that I was authorized to go to, that you guys have let me be at for 9 weeks. So
You good?
I'm perfectly fine. Thank you.
See,
So
trick is he didn't actually go to the EMT course. He just spent most of it in a bender in Palm Springs, like waking up in a dumpster. But then he just bought the T-shirt online. And when you show up to your unit, as long as you have the unit T-shirt, like everybody assumes you graduated the course.
I went to EMT course for 9 weeks, and because it was an accelerated course, right? And I'll tell you that the instructor spent the majority of her time telling us about stories about when she was an EMT back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And so 90% of my medical training from that EMT course came from reading the book and writing the entire chapter every time. Be that as it, thank God I've had some practical experience since then. Otherwise I'd be, handing out tampons for bullet wounds like an asshole.
Yep.
Be that as it may. So I get this guy back to base medical. He's at the Naval Hospital, and I'm calling Staff Sergeant. And I said, listen, Staff Sergeant, I happen to be at this bar, and there also happened to be another Marine at this bar. Go figure there's only 3 of them in the fucking, in 29 Palms that aren't 18 or older bars, which is the ones that you get in the most trouble for.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not the one I was at because I'm not a schmuck. So I say, listen, this is what happened. And my Staff Sergeant was a good guy. Like, he was straight up like, I'm going to support my NCO's ability to do their jobs. So the staff sergeant calls the sergeant major because a Marine in the hospital required a sergeant major being made aware of the situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? So he calls sergeant major and he explains exactly the way that I said it to sergeant major. And I know that for a fact because he's always done that in the past. I have no reason to believe he didn't do that in this particular instance. Sergeant major calls me back about 15, 20 minutes later, and I am, by the way, sobering myself up. I went to the bar, got a cup of coffee, and getting into an Uber, right, or a cab, I think the young people or the old people call it because they didn't have Uber at the time.
So you were just slightly less drunk than you are now.
Yes, I was slightly less drunk than I.
For the 2 people watching this video, I'd like to point out that this whole bottle of Jameson is empty.
I bought that 15 minutes before we started this episode. But because I'm a professional, I bought that small bottle instead of the full-size IPA cask, which is what I was going to get.
Stop making up words and finish your story.
So, I get in the horse and buggy, and I get all the way to the Naval Hospital, and I'm sitting there, I'm talking to the nurses, I'm talking to the staff. With HIPAA, there's only so many things they can tell me, but I'm keeping a general idea of what's going on so I can report back. I get a phone call from the sergeant major, and he is just straight off the bat, he's like, I said, "Good evening, Sergeant Pfeffer," because I knew this is where this was going.
Yeah.
Right? I got a phone call at 12:30 at night that I didn't recognize. It's probably somebody in the command.
Especially if it's like a base area code.
Yeah.
Like, what's the area code for 760? Is that 29 Palms?
I don't remember, but I know that it was probably like a Camp Lejeune number.
Yeah, it's like 910.
Right.
703 for Quantico.
Right. You get that phone. You get that cell phone when you're a Lance Corporal, and that's your number until you're a Sergeant Major because you're too unobservant of technology to fix it.
Yeah.
So I get this number that I don't recognize. It's 12:30 at night. And I answer it. I was like, "Good evening, Sergeant Pfeffer. How may I help you, sir, ma'am?" And Sergeant Major, I don't remember his name. Doesn't matter anyway. And he's like, "Sergeant Pfeffer, why the fuck are you hanging out with Lance Corporals at bars?" And my first thought is, why is that the pertinent question? Like, you have a guy in a hospital.
Is he okay? Did he hurt a civilian?
Yeah, none of this.
Is anyone pregnant?
It wasn't like, do you have AIDS or did you get like gutted with a knife in a bar fight? No, his first question is, why in the absolute fuck is a sergeant hanging out with a Lance Corporal? And I said, well, Sergeant Major, I wasn't spending time with the Lance Corporal. It's just that there aren't a lot of drinking options available in 29 Palms. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the 3, and it happened to be the one where something happened. And he's like, well, fraternization and blah, 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 blah. And it turned into like listening to someone taking a Marine Corps dictionary and throwing it into a blender and putting it on high puree, right? Just buzzwords were coming out of the phone at Mock Muhammad. And I was just like, listen, I kept this guy out of prison. Yeah. I kept him off the blotter. I got him transferred to a military hospital where the records will be kept secure. What exactly more could you possibly have hoped for this from this incident? Like I did
for what the situation was. I made the best of it.
Right? Like he does. You don't even have to report this to the chain of command. Like you don't even have to tell them the colonel about this because it was handled internally. Like he'll go back to work with a couple of those like skin strips and some super glue on his face, and it'll be fine. He's ugly anyway. Nobody will notice. Yeah. Right. But because the military higher-ups are what they are, it was, a lot of punches to the face, a lot of elbows to the guts, and they were like, oh, you're a piece of shit for hanging out with Lance Corporals. I was like, I was flirting with that Asian chick over there. Like, why am I the one
She was very Asian.
in trouble?
He's not being racist. She was very Asian. I can attest to that.
She had all that Mario stuff on the side of her arm, too. Yeah. Really good tattoos.
Yeah, she even had, like, video game tattoos. That's how Asian she was. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are the blowjobs?
10.
10? You heard it, fucking ladies and gentlemen. A fucking 10.
Like, 100%. I'd say her name just to give her credit, but she would probably blush because, they do that.
Yeah, it's called a kawaii, for those of you who don't know, when, like, there's, like, the cutesy Asian blushing with, like, hearts and stuff.
No, she's hardcore. There's nothing cutesy. Well, it's hard to say.
No.
I wouldn't describe her as cutesy.
Does she look cute with a dick in her mouth?
I'm going to not answer that because I will say of the few human beings I respect on the planet, she's one of them.
So, I mean, I respect you, and I could say you look cute with a dick in your mouth. I mean, I feel that'd be a compliment. It'd be rude if I didn't, if it was the truth.
But then you'd have to tell stories that we have not been authorized to tell.
No, actually, those will be available for our fans-only channel that we're going to be launching here soon. The stories that are too illegal for us to tell over the open airwaves.
Premium Snapchat, fellas.
Yep. Lots of good content on there.
If Belle Delphine can do it, then we can do it.
I don't know who that is.
She's a girl that turned out to be ridiculously underage that was doing like premium Snapchats, and it was like really premium.
How do you know about this?
Because because when I go on my
Bye.
phone,
No, I'm kidding.
because when I go on my phone, I swipe left and it gives me all of these like news.
No, but you have that
things.
fucking like spook ultra encrypted fucking VPN fucking special agent phone.
Well, yeah, you can't trust normal people or people.
And that's where you get these news stories.
Hey, you know what? If Alex Jones gets to look on the deep web and find out that the water's making the frogs gay, then I get to look on the deep web and find Belle Delphine, which is gross. It's just a.
Is she 18 now?
Let's find out.
All right.
I don't have EP Mike to look it up, so I'm going to look it up, which means we'll find out quickly instead of in half an hour.
So while he's telling that story, I kind of have a similar situation. There was a guy in my old unit. He had bought like a 250cc starter bike, and he went through the safety course, had all the proper PPE, which I think the first P in PPE stands for proper, or no protective personal equipment. Anyways, so he's coming around a corner, and some dude was like graveling his driveway, and he let some of it spill on the road. How old is she now?
I haven't got to that part yet.
Wait, she died?
No, she didn't. It was a rumor.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So you are no better than EP Mike.
I
not only did not give me her age, you made me thought she died.
I didn't say anything about anything.
The first thing you showed me was big, bold black letters that said Belle Delphine died.
She is a 19-year-old UK-based cosplayer, which means at this time, she is legal.
Okay. Good to know. Cool. I can respect it.
Anyway, continue saying the thing you were saying, and I'll bring up some videos that only you get to watch, and the rest of you can just Google it like, adults.
And so this dude was graveling his driveway. He put a little bit of gravel out on the road on accident. So this guy, a little bit of an experienced driver, he's coming around the corner, hits some of the gravel, puts the bike down, goes off into a ditch. Perfectly okay. Skins up his elbow, fucked up his sleeve a little bit, which is really what he was more upset about. Bike was fine, couple scuffs, nothing that was structural. So he calls the staff sergeant. He's like, hey, just so you know, like I'm going to go into the hospital, because it was like a weekend. It was like Saturday or Sunday. And it was Sunday, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to the hospital just to get, like my fucking arm bandaged up. Like I fucked up my tattoo, like this bullshit. The staff sergeant was like, you're good though? Like, did you break anything? He's like, no, I'm fine. Like my arm feels okay. But I am bleeding. I got some road rash. I'm going to go get taken care of. It's not that far away. He's like, all right, Roger. So he notifies the safety NCO, it's his job to like write the report and like pass it up to higher, because if like the staff sergeant fucking tells him, then the safety guy has to do the investigation. Now you have like all these different pieces of information coming, and like you'd rather just have one fucking document that you can read everything from. So he tells the safety guy exactly what happens. For some fucking reason, the safety guy gets his fucking wild hair up his ass, where he fucking reports it as this dude was fucking on a Ducati, which is like the top tier fucking motorcycle, super fucking expensive, super powerful, shouldn't have been on it because he just started riding, and that he got fucking T-boned by a Mercedes doing a fucking 100 miles an hour on the fucking highway, and that he was in the fucking ICU in a coma, and they didn't know if he was going to make it. I don't know what the fuck possessed this guy to fucking write that report that way.
I'll tell you the first fail in that report is that if you get T-boned at 100 miles an hour plus, and you're on a motorcycle and the other guy's in a car, you're road pizza.
Pink
like, mist. There is no ICU. You are road pizza.
Yeah. And the thing was, is like, how do you get T-boned on a highway?
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And
like, it's a one-way direction. Like, going into the tunnel at Norfolk is a one-direction thing. Stop making it so hard.
And so, oh man, he's playing the Belle Delphine videos over here. There's a fucking... All right, then.
I don't believe she was 19 when she started, which was a bit of the controversy.
Jesus Christ, why are you showing me this then?
I'm not showing you the 19, I'm showing you the legal stuff.
Okay.
All right, you've seen the legal stuff.
Oh, she got Elvirs on? That's nice.
She's a cosplayer. That's her thing.
Right on. Cosplay is hot, dude.
She does a thing called I may be mispronouncing this, but called Asiago, which is, hold on, when it comes up I'll show you the face. For those of you that are listening, Google it again. But if you watch hot hentai at all, you should not have a problem knowing what that face is.
Yeah, or you could just DM EP Mike at Steadbro _ Murica, because he's the hentai expert.
Yeah, it's basically like they roll their eyes in the back of their head and they stick their tongue as far out as they can.
Oh, so you mean like the end of every time I have sex?
I mean, I imagine I wasn't there for every time. I was just there for the hookers and the blow and the, And
so this report gets passed up, and he like emails it to like the Sergeant Major's like .gov email on like a Sunday night or whatever. And so, that's it. Okay,
that's like the lame version. You'll get a better one.
Honestly, I don't like it because
there it is. That's a good version right there.
But see, like the thing is, like you always tell the girl to close her eyes when she sticks her tongue out, because if you fucking yeet it right into her eyeball, she's gonna be less likely to want that in the future.
So you say?
I'm sorry, I have consideration.
First of all, yeet and retreat. Second of all, right? Here's the thing. If it's just like,
goddamn, can I finish the story?
You have a different version. All right. So Dan and I have different sexual preferences, right? Based on our personalities.
Mine are legal and not repulsive to the average moral person.
They're not all legal, Chief, but we'll call that for a different episode. Be that as it may.
Everything I've ever done was legal in the place I did it. I'm very conscious of the law.
That's a very fine distinction. I will say
it's like
that
smoking weed is legal in D.C. It's not legal in fucking wherever else, like Maryland.
It's not legal in D.C. to smoke it. It's just not illegal for you to acquire it.
No, it's legal for you to smoke it.
I don't. Well, I mean, no.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get into
Googled it.
Did you Google it?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, very paranoid.
Well, I mean, I just have a government job for the last 15 years, so I'm not allowed to use it because apparently the federal government frowns upon that sort of thing, which I have no opinion about at all whatsoever.
Although, like it said, being legal in D.C. is like the headquarters. Okay, I can't watch that. I got to finish the story.
All right, she's got a banana in her mouth, so we're going to turn that off now. Be that as it may. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
All right, here's the thing. If a woman asks you to do it, and it does not require physical violence, then why not? If she says, I want to keep my eyes open while you yeet into my face, right?
That's when it has to change from a yeet to a Kobe. Like, you need accuracy and precision if her eyes are open.
Do you, though?
You really do.
I mean, maybe what she wants is the force.
This is why I have 4.8 stars on Yelp and you have 3.9. All right?
I'm not on Yelp.
Devil. Devil dog. See, like a 3.9 cafe is like good enough if you're drunk. You're like, it's 3.9. It's not that bad. It's like a respectable hotel, maybe a couple like stingy patrons.
I have 19. Oh wait, I have a thing for this. But first, I'll say I have 19 pictures or posts on Instagram over the last 7 years I've had an Instagram, and 5 of them are from the last 2 weeks. Right. But I will say that here's the thing. I feel like, and I'm stealing this from a comedian who I won't name because fuck them. They're a perfectly good comedian. I'm just being an asshole. I feel like you can't, on Yelp, you can't go lower than 2 stars, right? Anything lower than 2 stars, if it's a 1-star review, it is not the restaurant or the business's fault. It is you had a person, like that's on you, right? Like I went to this restaurant and while I was there, my cat committed suicide.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that has fuck all to do with the restaurant, but you're like, you see these Yelp reviews that are 1 star, like, I've never been to El Taco, and I'll never go to El Taco. And I was like...
Because I saw somebody with this political bumper sticker in the parking lot, so if that's who they support, fuck them.
Right? And I'm like, thanks, keep me appraised.
No, but if you look AJ, AJ Pfeffer, Pfeffer, up on Yelp, one of the reviews that is 1 star is directly related to his old wrinkly balls. And I've been telling him this, you gotta moisturize. But be that as it may,
I do moisturize.
Sergeant Major gets into work, bright and early Monday morning, fucking cracks the old knuckles, inserts the CAC. It's not CAC card because it's common access card, so it's repetitive. Like ATM machine, no.
Right, you can't say, what is it, automated teller machine?
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid. So it's either insert your CAC or insert your common access card.
Yeah, or like saying the S3 shop. Well, S stands for shop, so like it's repetitive. But anyways, inserts ye old CAC, And, email pops up and it's like, Sergeant Major, regret to inform you that Sergeant so-and-so was T-boned by a Mercedes doing 100 miles an hour and is in the ICU in a coma. Oh my God! And he's like, where's the rest of the information that I need? Like, what is his status? What's the hospital? What's his condition? And so Sergeant Major is freaking out. He's like, who does this guy even belong to? And he got a fucking regiment with 5,000 people in it. And he, because this was the regimental level sergeant major who got this email because we didn't have a battalion level sergeant major. We were broken into like different companies, but so he's like freaking out trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And old fucking Sergeant so and so comes fucking diddy bopping into work, and first sergeant was like, "The fuck is this? The fuck is that? The fuck are you?" It's like, "You're not in the hospital in a coma?" He's like, no. He's like, "You didn't get T-boned by a Mercedes doing 100 miles an hour on your Ducati?" No. And it's just like, well, what the fuck happened? He's like, I put my bike down. I scuffed up my sleeve a little bit. It was bullshit. I got to get it fucking done once it heals. And so it's just like, and then at that point, they're like, bring me the safety NCO. Da, 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 da. Like fucking.
The Imperial March starts playing.
Like first sergeant just power walks into his office and slams the door. And so like, that's like, it's like one of those things where like when you get that phone call and you hear that fucking like deep bassy voice came over like, hey fuckhead, like your body just locks while you're on the phone. Like you better be at parade rest while I'm chewing your ass on the phone, bitch. So before your lily-livered intolerance of alcohol causes you to pass out, spray alcohol all over the mic again. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
How many Coors Lights have you had in the last hour?
Well, because I'm a professional and it's a tall boy.
I'm a professional and it's also a tall boy.
You're a drunken asshole with wrinkly old balls.
I'm a drunk and I'm an asshole and I have smooth old balls. None of those things are related to each other, however.
I feel like I have done them a misjustice. Like, it's not that they're not visually appealing. It's like a patina paint color where you could tell it's from a different time.
Artificially, what does they call it? When you buy furniture and it's distressed, what they really mean is they painted it white with some cracks in it.
And they sandpapered it.
That's it.
Yeah, so his balls are distressed.
All right, one thing I do want to point out.
Yes.
Right, and this is 100% serious. I'll give this for a moment. One, I was not kidding when I was saying earlier that look into tuition assistance, right?
Yes.
Everybody in every service used tuition assistance. When I was in, it was like $4,500 a year to take classes. There's no reason to not use free money, right? Secondly, I would like to bring up that the Zadroga Act, which is the 9/11 First Responders Bill, just got funded. It took 18 years to get the funding it needed, and it required a liberal comedian telling Congress that they were an embarrassment to get it done. Now, I say liberal comedian. When I say the word liberal, I don't mean it as an insult. Jon Stewart, formerly of The Daily Show, went in front of Congress. I think it was Congress. I'm not really sure. I didn't do the research.
Yeah.
But he went in front of Congress and he said, you people are an embarrassment and you're robbing these people of the only commodity they have, which is time. And after about a 6-minute talk, everyone in the room voted unanimously to pass. The reason it took 18 years for them to do that is because they had to get shamed by Jon Stewart over and over and over and over again.
So big ups to Jon Stewart.
Big ups to Jon Stewart. Yeah. He was hilarious in The Daily Show. He's been hilarious every time I've seen him. And the fact that he quit a job where he was just absolutely crushing it to spend 100% of his time running around Congress, harassing people to get 9/11 first responders taken care of is absolutely legend, right? Absolute legend. And
good on him.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so...
if I ever get a chance to meet Jon Stewart, I would shake that man's hand in a heartbeat. I don't care how liberal he is.
So I was actually in Manhattan this morning. I just flew in, actually. And I was...
Humble brag.
It's
a good humble brag, though.
No, see, the thing that pisses me off, though, is like sometimes I feel like I can't talk about my accomplishments because people get butthurt because they're not doing anything with their lives. So if you get insecure because someone else is doing something good, then figure your own shit out.
Yeah, but that's different, though. Like, the thing is, and this is in defense of you,
yeah,
is that a lot of people are like, I'm so jealous that I can't go. It's Manhattan. I mean, sure, Manhattan's expensive, but North Jersey is cheap because it's Jersey, which is garbage, right? Just take a shuttle into the city, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't spend a lot. I'm sorry, I know this is an aside. When Dan and I take trips, and we try to take a trip at least once a year or at least twice a year if we can manage it, we don't spend a lot of money. Like, we went to Australia, we spent maybe $1,000 a piece. And $750 of that was the plane ticket and the Airbnb.
Yeah.
The rest of it was booze. Right? So if you're telling me that you can't travel and that you're super jealous, it's because you can't not go to the bar a couple weeks out of the month and save the money and then say, well, I'm going to take a couple days and go to wherever.
No, see, like, I understand if, like, you have, like, kids and, like, things are tight. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's all about setting a goal and figure out what you want. Because, like, to me, like, if being loved by people was a goal of mine, then I'd probably spend more time, like, here. But nobody loves me, so I spend the majority of my time seeking that affirmation from strangers on the internet.
See, and that's absolute crap because I love you, right? You like I have actual brothers that I haven't spoken to in a decade.
Yeah.
Because they're garbage. Well, they're not garbage.
And they don't do that thing you like.
The one legitimate full speed brother that I have, like 100%, is garbage.
Kind of blazed right over that. Hurt my feelings.
My two, I'm gonna wrap around back to that.
I needed eye drops for 6 weeks, Alexander.
My stepbrothers they're fine, right? I got no problem with them. But they're stepbrothers, and they were teenagers. They were late teens before I even met them. So I understand they have their own lives. My stepbrother Jeffrey, though, is a hoot. Like, he is insane. And he's the only one out of that step family that I relate to because we're both black sheep.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, like, I will say that of the 5 people on this planet that I give 2 shits about, you're one of them.
I appreciate that.
Which is, like, you're pretty high on the list. You're within the top 4.
I appreciate
right?
that.
So...
Yeah, but, like, so, and again, if you have responsibilities, like, good on you for being a man and, like, taking care of your shit. But, you know, I sign up for, like, Scotch Cheap's flights or Next Vacay, and, like he was saying, like, the flight to Australia was, like, super inexpensive for what it was.
Ridiculous cheap. Go on Google Flights, put the flight in that you want, and hit the price tracker. It'll tell you when the flight gets cheaper.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a twofold thing. Like, if you feel like you're not making enough money to satisfy the things that you want to do in life, then, you know, start taking the steps. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Whether it's education, mental health, fitness, whatever the case may be, you're not going to accomplish your goals overnight. But if you start planting seeds now, gentlemen, I promise you that eventually you'll be able to harvest. It's just a matter of time of being patient, dedicated, and allowing yourself to grow into the person that you want to be.
I 100% agree.
And
I got out of the Marine Corps.
Perfect, you know?
I got out of the Marine Corps with no money because you get paid Marine Corps money. I got paid out of the Marine Corps with no money, and in a state of physical fitness, one would expect out of a sergeant who'd gotten blown up, shot, stabbed, and kicked off a building a few dozen times.
Wow, you sound really bad at war.
No, I was really good at war because
I got blown up a couple times, but I most certainly didn't get kicked off a building, shot, stabbed. Like,
I got kicked off a building and then climbed back up a set of scaffolding and shot that bitch with an M249 saw. So I think I did okay.
I mean, if you hadn't got kicked off the building, like...
Well, if gear didn't weigh so much, I wouldn't have been yeeting myself from a second...
Can you do the falling voice that you do so well?
Ah!
That was you getting kicked off a building because you're a boot.
I didn't make any sound at all because I'm a man. That's a lie. I actually made quite the screech. It sounded like somebody squeezing a cat that was a chew toy for the first time.
It's like when you put aftershave on your freshly fucking smooth
shorn
balls.
testicles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the Home Alone screen.
Yes. Exactly that, but like worse because it's down here instead of up here.
Yeah. So like, did he kick you in the nuts, the chest? Like, was he wearing a man dress? Did he have to like hike it up first to get his leg that high?
I got booted in like right below the left knee.
Yeah.
Which did not do good things for my left knee.
Wait. But below the left knee, you got shin kicked off of a building?
When you're climbing on top of it from scaffolding and you stand up and you're wearing 80 bajillion pounds of Marine Corps bullshit, including a saw and 1,200 rounds in your pack, including the fucking...
So some goat fucker that weighs 70 pounds, soaking wet in a man dress with fucking sandals, shin kicked you so hard you fell off a building?
He shin kicked me when I was half on the building, half off the building.
Jesus Christ.
And do you know how I fixed that problem?
How's that?
36 rounds to the back of his dome as he ran away from me like a bitch.
36 rounds seems a bit excessive.
It's a saw, man. It's not made to go butter jam. It's made to go.
Because through multiple shooting competitions and the affirmation of our previous company commander, I was a better saw gunner than you, and I don't think I could
False.
Keyhole 36 rounds in the back of the head of a guy running away.
Fake news. Fake news.
All right, so what we need to do is go out to Vegas, find one of those ranges that has like
score consecutive 50s on the DoD T&E qual.
Yeah, just let me get a job in a DoD so I can go through.
You don't need to get a job. I'll take you out. I'll print out a fucking.
You have the ability to do that, and we haven't done it yet.
Yes.
Jesus Christ! No wonder you get shin kicked off of buildings.
Anyway, let me go back to the original thing I was trying to say, which was affirmation for our listeners.
Yeah.
Right. So I got out of the Marine Corps. I had zero monies. Right. Not one doll hair.
No,
that I could
like straight
spare.
up, like our cross country road trip, I paid for all the salutes and beers.
He really did pay for all the salutes and beers, which is why
he got me back.
I got him back when we went on the UK Freedom Tour 2014. What? I paid for that. Wah 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 wah. I paid for that. It was a retribution, right?
Yeah.
But I will say that
hard work, man.
Hard work, dedication, and a singular focus put me on the path to physical fitness and getting a job where I get paid and getting a job where I got to travel and got to see new things, got to do new stuff. I enhanced my skills and abilities, right? The Marine Corps taught me a lot. The job I got after the fact taught me even more.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. So it's all about pushing yourself forward, right? You get out of the military, you don't know where to go. You're lost. You're trying to look around different places and say, what do I do with myself? Push forward. If you want to rescue cats, rescue cats. If you want to have a job doing like hiking for veterans, do hiking for veterans. Yeah. If you want a job where you go to Syria with Blackwater or whatever crazy stupid thing you want to do,
you know better. They're not named Blackwater anymore.
Yeah, it was Blackwater, and then it was Z-Corps, then it was a cat, whatever the hell it was. If you want to go to Venezuela and help out, do what you feel like your paycheck can afford.
Yeah, and I just feel that what's important to me is coming from a position where I was homeless. Teachers told me I was never going to succeed. I really didn't have a lot of options. And then, through a lot of hard work and a lot of tribulation, I finally get to the point where I can be happy. And I'm not the most successful man by any means. But what I can say is that for the life that I'm living, I am the happiest I can be. And that is a direct reflection of the small adjustments you make in order to steer yourself towards those calm seas.
Not everybody's going to be Elon Musk. Not everybody's going to be George Soros or the Koch brothers.
Not everybody's going to even be George Costanza. All right? He had a hot girlfriend and a good paying job and funny friends.
Right. You're not always going to have all that. But what you got to do is always get to higher ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong, right? You should always be seeking more.
And if you're not happy with where you are, all that means is you're just at a checkpoint, my friend. Pick this rucksack back up and continue to march. Bye.
Peace.